We begin in West Africa, where Lagos, Kano, and 10 other states in Nigeria are preparing to generate their own electricity in compliance with the Electricity Act 2023. Despite the tariff hike, many states are using the new Electricity Act to establish their own power generation companies. They have created their own electricity market laws and are awaiting approval from the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission. Meanwhile, the federal government's decision to increase power tariffs by 240% for Band A consumers has sparked criticism. The subsidy for these consumers, who represent about 15% of all power users, has been entirely removed. The new tariff is 225 naira per kilowatt hour, a substantial increase from the previous 68 naira per kilowatt. In the meantime, the Nigerian Senate has assured citizens of the country that they will not be left to fend for themselves amidst the uproar caused by the over 300% hike in electricity tariff for customers classified as Band A. The chairman of the Senate Committee on Media and Public Affairs, Senator Yemi Adaramodu, gave the reassurance while speaking to journalists, where he emphasized that upon resumption from recess, the Senate would thoroughly assess the situation and take decisive action in the best interest of the nation and its citizens. Senator Daramodu stressed that the Senate, being a responsible and responsive institution, would not stand idly by in the face of policies that directly impact the economy, security, and welfare of Nigerians. This assurance comes in the wake of the federal government's approval of a staggering 240% increase in electricity tariff for Band A customers, a decision that has drawn widespread criticism and concern. And now to discuss this, I'm joined by an electricity market analyst, Lanre Elatui. Thank you so much for joining us on the news.
Thank you so much and good afternoon.
So first off, does the over 200% increase in electricity tariff hike reflect the true economic realities bedeviling the sector?
We need to be realistic at this point. Everything has gone up. The dollar rate has gone up. The gas rate has gone up. So I believe, like I've said on several fora, that the regulator did what is strategic by making sure that they only increased tariff for those that are deemed able to afford electricity. So if you look at other products in the market, the prices have actually increased. So the bread that we used to buy at 800 naira is now 1,500 naira. So that's the economy is biting on everybody, knowing fully well that electricity is the commodity that has to be paid. So there are investors, there are people that are invested money in this business, and their cost of production has actually skyrocketed. So as long as the government says that they're not going to be responsible for subsidy again, then somebody has to be able to pay for the true cost of electricity. And in this case, the customers have to pay. If you look at the alternative available to the customers, spending money on petrol or diesel, you see that the grid power is still more cheaper for them. So while acknowledge the fact that the economy is really biting very hard, but there is nothing that the regulator can do at this point, because as they need to protect the consumers, they also have duty to protect the investors in the market, so that tomorrow when we wake up, we still have our gencos being able to produce electricity.
But then the gas that powers these stations are locally generated or produced. So why would anything that has to do with the naira appreciating or depreciating affect the cost of payments by consumers? Why should it affect an increase in what is payable by a power consumer? We're looking at an increase of 225 naira per kilowatt from 68 naira. Don't you think that is too much? And don't you think the factors associated with this are just, out of way and bogus?
Okay, let me first of all answer your first question. Why the dollar components in our tariff? If you look at our generation portfolio, we have the hydros, about 20%. Then we have the thermal plants about 80%. Even our hydros, the likes of Kanji, Shiroro, and Jeba, this hydros, they pay their concession fee in dollars. You have to remember that. So there's a fee that they pay to government on annual basis, I think about $50 million. So this fee, their concession fee is in dollars. So they're exposed to FX risk because when they collect tariff in Naira. Number two, the loans for the loans that most generating companies and most players in the business that they actually collected to invest their dollar loans, and they have to be paid back in dollars. But they receive their tariff in Naira. So that's why we need dollar component. Apart from that, the O&M, the operation and maintenance of most of these plants are in dollars. So that's why there's dollar component in our tariff. And we know that the government has floated the Naira. So the rate used in the last March 2024 MITO methodology, the rate was Naira 19. But we know that the official rate of dollar today is not Naira 19. And if the people, the investors in the power sector, they're going to seek for the dollar, there's no special window for them to get dollar at official rate. They have to go to the black market to get dollar. So in order for them to cover this foreign exchange risk, so the dollar components have to be used in our tariff methodology. Yeah, I understand the fact that is it justifiable? The cost has increased of generation. The cost of doing business has increased. So what we did do, and government is saying that, okay, we can bear this burden of subsidy. Before, government was responsible for tariff shortfall. But government is saying that we have, in March 2024, we have almost 1.7 trillion naira subsidy. And government only has about 400 billion naira provision for subsidy. So who is going to provide the other money? Because Gencos they will actually generate. And if the market cannot pay them, government cannot pay subsidy. So it's just as if you're asking them to just invest, generate, incur cost without being compensated, and that is not going to work.
But then the government is saying it cannot bear the cost. Now it will be the citizens that will still have to bear the cost in an economy that is already choked. This seems to be a more or less a double whammy for the power consumers in Nigeria because they will pay more for electricity, pay more for domestic gas supply, pay more for services and other goods that they would need to run their day-to-day domestic and corporate activities.
It's a very valid concern, but if you see what government, if you see what what the regulator has done, the regulator did not increase tariff for all classes of customers. Nigerians have been complaining for so many years that the rich are the one enjoying subsidy. Now, what is happening is cross-subsidization in the sense that the rich are now subsidizing those that cannot afford cost-reflective tariff. So they did not increase this tariff across the board. They only increased the tariff for a segment of customers that they feel that they're able to afford the cost-reflective tariff. And if you are to take into consideration the alternative available for these customers, it's still quite cheaper for them to be on the grid. So it's quite cheaper for them to pay 225 naira per kilowatt hour than buying diesel every day. Running diesel 20 hours every day will cost them more. So I think that's what was put into consideration before the decision was reached. So the vulnerable Nigerians, the people that could not pay cost-reflective tariff, are still exempted from this increment. And I think that was a very bold move and strategic move.
Okay, so let's look at subnationals and what they're doing. Now, we hear that Lagos, Kano, and 10 other states have concluded plans to start generating power in their respective states. Abia State championed this cause anyway. So do you think that these states have the capacity to raise the capital for the funds and meet their electricity market laws to kickstart the projects?
Let me quickly correct a misrepresentation. States are not going to generate, transmit, and distribute. There's nothing in the Electricity Act that says that. The law says that the states can legislate. Can legislate on generation, transmission, and distribution, not states being directly involved in the business of running a power market. Number one, the states are not viable to do power projects. I can tell you the states don't have the money to provide, they cannot provide funds, they cannot even sign any power purchase agreement for any power project. Yeah, I understand the fact that some states are investing in IPPs, but how the economic rationale behind that, I still question that. I know of a state that the monthly electricity bill was around 50 million naira before. Now they invested in IPP, and what they are actually paying on a monthly basis is in excess of 300 million naira. So it's not economically sensible for states to invest in IPPs that they cannot even serve most of their population. So the Electricity Act says that states can regulate on generation, transmission, and distribution, state electricity market. But in this state, I have a problem with the Electricity Act because there's so many contradictions in the document. The same act that says that states can legislate on state electricity market still says that the national competitive electricity market has to exist. So that's not where I'm going to. Do states have the capacity to run power market? I don't think so. Most of the states still come to Abuja on a monthly basis for survival. These states cannot even provide the most basic need of human being, which is ordinary drinking water. So if you cannot provide ordinary drinking water, I don't know how they're going to manage a very complex industry and a highly capital-intensive industry like power. So you made mention of Abba, the geographic power is not the idea of Abia State. That project has been on for the past, I think, about 15, 20 years. So and the in Abba. So with the state ability to, is there a solution to the problem of the power system in Nigeria, the problem of electricity in Nigeria? No, and I can say that categorically.
Larry Latu, we may need to just peg the conversation there so that we can entertain other stories that we have, but then we appreciate your contribution so far. Thank you.
Thank you so much.